The views and opinions of the guests of Veterans Archives do not reflect the views and opinions of Veterans Archives, its subsidiaries, or its partners. Hello and welcome to Veterans Archives. This is a podcast where you can learn about our military history in the words and voices of the men and women who lived and created it. I'm your host, Bill Krieger, and let's listen to our next story.
Today is October 12th, 2023. We are with Ann Marie Colombo, and we are going to talk about her experiences in the United States Marine Corps. How are you doing today, Ann Marie?
I am wonderful, thank you. How are you?
I'm excellent. So let's start with where you're from.
I was born in Detroit. Grew up most of my time in Detroit.
Detroit?
Detroit.
Okay.
I went to private school, Christ the King.
Okay.
By Grand River and 6 Mile on Patton.
Okay.
So, but then my dad is a Detroit firefighter, so we had to live in Detroit. Shortly into high school, we moved out this way, and I graduated from Howell, Michigan.
Okay. So where did your dad work at as a firefighter?
He worked at Detroit City Metro Airport, and he worked downtown Trumbull, maybe?
Okay.
I don't remember.
Did he work at the
Yes.
hotel now?
It might be. I don't know.
Okay.
It was a very old building.
Okay. So did you have any siblings growing up?
Yes, I have a sister that's 3 years younger than me and a brother that's 11 years younger than me.
Okay. And are you close with both of them?
Yes. My sister lives in Brighton and my brother lives with me in Howell.
Okay. So were you guys competitive growing up?
Unfortunately, because my brother was so much younger, he was 6 when I left. So growing up, no, I wasn't very close to my brother at all. And my sister and I, we went through ups and downs of, she was too young for me. I didn't want to have anything to do with her. She was a pain in the butt. And then as we got older, we got closer again when we went through some of the same things. But I had children way before she did. So, my kids are old enough to babysit her kids.
Okay. So that kind of works out for her.
It did work out for her. And that is what she said when she got married and everybody was asking her when she was going to have kids.
Okay. So tell me about, what did your mom do?
My mother was a stay-at-home mom pretty much the whole time I was at home. She did start working for the schools once my brother was in school full-time.
Okay.
As secretary, lunch lady. She just was part-time fill-in.
Okay. And so you said you were born in Detroit. What year were you born in Detroit?
1969.
1969. Do you remember what hospital?
Beaumont
downtown?
Yes.
Okay. So at what high school did you go to again?
I graduated from Howell High School.
Howell High School. So you moved out here in what year did you move out here?
83.
83. Okay, so then you went to Howell High School. Did you play any sports at Howell High School?
Yes, I ran track and I played volleyball.
Okay, and what'd you run in track?
I did shot put and I ran hurdles.
Okay.
It was more to do something because it was opposite time frame of volleyball. I wanted to play volleyball. Volleyball I enjoyed very much.
Okay. Well, I feel like that would help you in volleyball a little bit.
I think so too, but they were very encouraging to do sports. So track and field was a spring end of the year sport and volleyball was a fall beginning of the year sport. So I had sports activities all year round.
Yeah, makes sense. So was there any subjects that you were interested in high school that?
I really liked math. Very much.
You don't hear that often.
I took more math classes than I needed to take because I was short electives. So you only need 3 and I had 4.5 credits for high school. I really thought I was going to be a math teacher. I did take some accounting and that was a little bit too boring.
Okay. And you work at a bank now, right?
I do work at a bank, yes.
So that kind of later on in life
Yes.
helped you out a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe.
Okay. So let's not to jump way ahead, but as far as did you join right out of high school? Did you join the Marine Corps right out of high school?
I did not. I went 1 year to community college, Lansing Community College. Basic prereqs that you have to take for everything in school, but I didn't thrive. And so at the end of the first year, I wasn't sure what I was doing. I had a friend who enlisted in the Army, and he referred me to his recruiter. And I went and talked to his recruiter.
Was he from Howell or Lansing?
He was also from Howell.
Okay.
Yep. Jeff Couillard. He's currently a warrant officer in Arizona, I think.
Okay.
So he made a career out of it.
Okay, good.
But yeah, I went and talked to the Army recruiter, and it was all right. I was probably thinking, oh, maybe I'll just do a couple years and get some college money. And came home and I told my parents what I was thinking. And my dad, who also, besides a firefighter, was in the U.S. Navy during Vietnam. And he said, well, before you make any decisions, I think you should talk to all the recruiters and get the best deal you can get. And I couldn't make contact with an Air Force recruiter. The Navy recruiter was...
Why couldn't you make contact?
They were never in their office. Maybe they had so many recruits, they didn't need people. But I never ended up making contact with anybody in the Air Force. I did talk to a Navy recruiter who was very, very blasé. Yeah, I guess maybe...
Didn't really.
The Marine Corps recruiter was 100% above and beyond. Totally made me want to be a Marine. Once I talked to the Marine Corps recruiter, I was dead set that this is what I was going to do.
What did he say that?
I'm not entirely sure. I don't really remember, but it really struck a chord with me that I wanted to serve my country and I wanted to do something. And I thought this was going to be more meaningful and maybe even a little bit more challenging. I didn't want it to be easy. And that was kind of something the Navy recruiter had said, oh yeah, it's just 6 weeks and you'll do this and you'll do that. And then you'll be home again and it'll be fine. And I don't know. I felt like I wanted to be away and to have a challenge and to do something that was more of an accomplishment than something to do.
Okay. That's good reason.
And then I was a walk-in, cause I just walked in. And
recruiter's dream.
Yeah, and yes. So I was already out of school, so we didn't have to wait for graduation or anything like that. And they actually needed a female that was out of school because not only females in the military are less, females in the Marines are even less than less.
Yep. Yep, makes sense. So you're sold on the Marines, and when and where did you go to MEPS?
I enlisted out of Detroit.
Okay, what year was this?
1988.
1988.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and
it was April of 1988, and I ended up leaving for my first day was August 8th, 1988.
Okay, so when you went to MEPS, did you sign a contract and it was like you got the job that you wanted, or was it?
I actually was supposed to go supply battalion, and I was supposed to leave later than August. But an opening came up sooner, and I went open contract.
Okay, so you just wanted to get out of.
Once I made the decision to go, I just wanted to get out of Dodge. Yep, okay. I want to be out of here. I want to go start the next phase of my life.
Yeah, and that's a lot of times that is the best way to do it. So then you just jump in, start the swim.
They were my recruiter was also very hands-on, and I don't know what everybody else's experience was, but very much I felt got me ready, like what to expect, what really to expect, and we did a lot of running and physical training because I was a year out of high school, so I wasn't used to doing anything. Mm-hmm. I wasn't as active.
Yeah, college will do that to you. So you ship off to basic training, and it's 1988.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the month?
Yes, August 8th, 1988.
August 8th, 1988. And you ship to, where do you ship to?
Paris Island.
Paris Island. Is that North Carolina?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. Okay, sorry about that.
Yep.
So South Carolina, and you get on a plane and go, or do you drive?
I flew out of Detroit to South Carolina, got off a plane, got on a bus to boot camp, got off the bus.
Okay, so what was your feeling when you got off the bus?
Perhaps I had made a mistake. No matter how prepared my recruiter made me, that was still not prepared for. It was dark. I understand that is the norm. A lot of yelling, a lot of screaming, a lot of do this, do that, do this, do that. It's very early in the morning by the time they let you go to sleep, and then you're woke up again within hours to start everything. And I might have thought maybe this was harder than I thought it was going to be. I don't have this as under control, but a couple more days into it, yeah, I can do this. This was right.
Do you remember your drill sergeant's name?
Gosh. We had 4. I remember what they looked like. I don't know if I can remember names though.
Do you remember if did they have a Southern accent? Were they big?
I had a female was the head senior drill instructor, and we were her first platoon. Marine Corps, the senior is nice, and the other 3 are not. And the one that got us off the bus, I thought she looked like Grace Jones, and she was very intimidating.
So you get there and you start doing all the training. Is there anybody that you were, like, any comrades that you had there that would you, like, depended on each other, or you remember?
Yes, there was a few that you got along with, and thanks to Facebook, there's a few that I'm still talking to. Mm-hmm.
What do you think the hardest part of basic training was?
It's very physically demanding and very sleep deprivating at first, but it's also to build that team. So it seems it had purpose. Mm-hmm. But being away from the people you know, it's for change. It's huge change.
Mm-hmm. Had you ever been out of the state at this point?
I'd been out of the state. I hadn't been out of the country, but I'd been out of the state before. Okay. But I went with friends.
Yeah.
When I would go out of the state. So,
like the fun stuff.
Right. Yes. Yeah, right.
So you have your comrades that help you get through basic training, and when you join, are you regular? You United States Marine Corps? Or are you Marine Corps Reserve? Or
regular.
Regular. Okay. So you get, how long is basic training?
13 weeks.
13 weeks.
I graduated on Halloween.
October
31st, 1988.
So anniversary's coming up here.
Yes.
So at what point do you find out what your job's going to be?
About 2 weeks before graduation, the drill instructor called everyone who went open contract, and there were 14 of us.
Out of how many?
Out of 70.
Out of 70?
Mm-hmm.
And now, did all the females sleep in one bay and males slept in another?
We were in a whole different part of the base. The only time we saw males was rifle training, or on Sunday if you walk to church.
Oh, so like your training was completely segregated.
Correct. Yes. I know it's different now, but yeah, when I was there, we didn't see them in the chow hall. We didn't see them for anything. But during rifle training, there were male platoons on the rifle range at the same time there were female platoons. Okay. But everything else, we trained completely separately. So.
Oh, wow. I never knew that. Yeah, it's completely different today.
Yes. I know it's very Marine Corps. All the branches are slightly different. And then I know after boot camp, there is it's different. But yeah, during boot camp, we were completely separated.
Okay. So
They called the 14 of us,
14 of
and
you.
they asked everyone who had a driver's license. Everyone who had a driver's license went to Camp Lejeune to be motor T. Everyone who didn't have a driver's license, which I said I didn't because I had gotten a speeding ticket right before I left for boot camp that I didn't address. My mother forwarded me a letter saying that my license had been suspended. So rather than be wrong, I said I didn't have a driver's license.
Mm-hmm.
All of us that didn't have a driver's license went to Camp Pendleton for admin.
Okay. Would you have wanted transportation?
No, I actually preferred admin, so that turned out okay. But they didn't tell us that's what they were doing. And then it was probably 3 days before graduation that I actually got my orders.
Okay. So you get your orders, and then you go to training to Camp Pendleton.
My family came for graduation, and I drove back to Michigan with my family. And then I flew to Camp Pendleton, and I was there for... I was home on leave. So if you're familiar with the Marine Corps, they're very proud of themselves, and they celebrate a lot for their anniversary. The Marine Corps birthday ball is November 10th. So I was home on leave from boot camp, and my recruiter took me to a Marine Corps birthday celebration. Okay. And then the next morning I got on a plane and flew to California and checked into Camp Pendleton. And I was there until February 4th for admin school.
So was admin school like similar to basic training, or was it pretty?
It was much more relaxed. So I was in a squad bay still with females, and walked around pretty much everywhere, but it was very self-contained. But it was more of a 9-to-5 job. Okay. Showed up for class when you were supposed to, passed your classes.
So what kind of things did you do as an admin specialist?
So we learned record books, keep maintaining other Marines' record books, what goes in there, how it's supposed to be filed, how it's supposed to be filled out. We had to type 45 words per minute, I think. Oh. We had a typing class.
Okay.
I don't, but on a typewriter.
Not a computer.
Not a computer. But once we got into all of our jobs, afterwards, I used a computer after that. I never used a typewriter again. Maybe to fill out a form that was missing something. Okay. But for the most part, I used computers after that.
Okay, so you're at your MOS training. And what year are you at your MOS training? Is it still?
That would have been November of 88 to February of 89.
Okay, so February of 89, you graduate basic training, and what does someone come tell you, like, where you're going? Do you get to pick?
I did. No, shortly before we finished, they did ask. Your only requested options were East Coast, West Coast, overseas. I requested West Coast, and I did end up West Coast. I was sent to 29 Palms.
Okay. So, at this point, how old are you?
19.
19. So you're going to 29 Palms. You're 19 years old. You're an admin specialist. So you go to 29 Palms, and tell me about 29 Palms.
It's a really big desert. It is a huge base that does do a lot of training, a lot of exercising, and a lot of units come from other places, including other branches, to train there. I was attached to, it was called Det A when I first checked in, but changed very shortly after to CSSD 12, so Combat Service Support Detachment 12, and we were a small-ish group in the back corner of the base next to all the comm electric. All the communication specialist training happens at 29 Palms.
Okay. And they bought, the Marines took that from the Army, right? Because the Army didn't want it anymore. I've heard that from somewhere.
I have heard that also, but I do not know if that is true or not. But okay. I do know it was a huge base and nobody wanted it.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't want to go there. I loved it. I have no problems, no regrets. It was pretty cool.
So what did you like about it?
It is one of the bases that the town loves the military.
Oh, okay.
I've been to New Orleans. There's Joint Reserve Base there. The town doesn't care for the military. Camp Lejeune, Jackson, North Carolina, they don't care for the military. So it's a very different experience, whereas a lot of Marines in those areas are told, don't wear your uniform off base. Don't interact any more than you have to. Whereas in 29 Palms, Yucca Valley, we're close to Palm Springs. You could go not that far away and get to a mountain and still see green and snow, even though we were in the desert day to day. So it was a very different experience, I think.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I've
and
heard.
Personnel-wise, although land-wise, it's huge. Personnel-wise, it's smaller than most of the other bases.
And I've also heard that base, everybody's very together and family oriented.
Yes, 100%. I totally agree with that. And there's a small Navy personnel because we have a hospital, which is all fun. Marines don't have their own medical. So all the medical on base is Navy.
Yeah, corpsmen, right?
Yes.
Okay, so is there anybody there that you hung out with or you're really tight with when you were there?
Let's take a quick break.
Veterans Archives is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we rely on donations from our listeners. If you are enjoying these stories and would like to support our continued efforts, please go to www.veteransarchives.org and select the donate button. Thank you.
I did meet the father of my children, who is now my ex-husband. So, obviously spent some time with him.
Okay. So how did you guys meet? Was he a Marine as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Both Marines. He was motor T with my unit, but we lent him to the hospital to be an ambulance driver.
Okay. So you guys met. What year did you guys meet?
89.
89?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how long were you dating?
42 days.
42 days? Okay.
Yes.
And then you got married after 42
Yes,
days?
we got married.
Okay. Did you guys get married in 29 Palms?
Where did we go? We got married in Oceanside, California by Camp Pendleton.
Okay. And where was he from?
He's from Missouri.
Missouri?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you get married and you're both stationed in 29 Palms. Then does that affect like where you would go next? Like if was he there longer than you? Was he there about the same time?
About the same time. The Marine Corps does try to keep couples together if possible, but of course it was going to depend on everything that happens. So.
Okay. And did you have? At what point did you guys have your first child?
Right around the time that I got out.
Okay. So we'll dive into that later on in the conversation. So you come to the end of your tour, and what?
Before the end of my tour at 29 Palms, he left before I did, was the Gulf War. So we were both in Southwest Asia, really close to the same time, but he did go before me and he got back before me. And then, so I would have got back around.
When did you ship?
He was August of 90. And I was September of 90.
Okay. And you shipped to?
Yep.
Where exactly?
We were both Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia?
Mm-hmm.
Where at in Saudi Arabia?
I was at the port of Al Jabal. I don't know where he was.
Okay. And what when you went there, what were you doing?
I was working out with Supply Battalion and issuing gear. So Marines would come into the port of Al Jabal. They'd get stuff from Supply Battalion and then they'd go forward. I lived in a tent city at the port.
So is that like a big town? Can you tell me, kind of describe what it...
We were not allowed off base. So I can't tell you anything about the town or much about Saudi Arabia.
So tell me about where you were living or living and working.
In a tent.
Just in a tent?
Just in a tent in the port.
Was there like a ton of tents?
Yes. This was a huge tent city. I saw a lot of different military personnel. In other words, like not just U.S. I met several Polish sailors, Army from the UK. Trying to think of who else. Norman Schwarzkopf.
Oh, wow.
But because we were supply battalion, we also dealt with, there were some people from Saudi that came on base to sell water or supplies that we might need. We ate MREs until December when they actually decided we were going to stay, I guess, and brought in some chow hall people.
What was your favorite MRE?
I liked the chicken a la king.
That was a pretty good one. Were they in like the brown bag? Or?
Yes, the brown. I don't know what that's called. I don't know what that material is. It's like thicker than plastic, but vinyl is not right either. So
something like that. Plastic.
But yes, that's the ones we had. We would put them. I remember putting them like out in the sun for a little bit to try and make them warm up.
Yeah, I remember those days. So, how big were your tents?
The tents for enlisted would sleep 12.
Okay.
We only had 10 females.
Were you on a cot? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Cots and sleeping bags.
Any like sand spiders or anything like that?
Not for the majority of the time because we were actually on cement.
Oh, okay.
Because we had sandbags to help make like bunkers, but if you think of like loading docks, that's the area that we were in.
Okay. So you're there for approximately how long were you there?
September of 90 until August of 91. So
okay,
just shy of a year.
Okay, wow, that's a long time. And is there any significant events that happened while you were there other than what we've talked about?
No, not really.
Were you able to call your husband, call home? I
could not call my husband because he was somewhere farther north towards the border of Kuwait. They did bring in payphones at some point, and I was able to call home a couple times.
With a calling card?
Yes, with a calling card on a phone. Yep. Like an AT&T. They were all AT&T phones, and they were in we had like a big tent that they were in. The shower was a tent. Everything was a tent.
Yeah.
Where I worked during the day, most hours was a big, huge warehouse because it was a supply battalion. We were just giving people supplies.
And at what point did you find out like you were leaving?
I had found out I was supposed to be going home a few months before I actually went home. One of the girls that I worked with had a death in the family and ended up going home sooner. Mm-hmm. So most of the military that came from the West Coast came before the East Coast. So Pendleton, 29 Palms was there before Lejeune. And, but she had a death in the family. So she took my spot. And I stayed later. But the Marines weren't there very much longer. There was a little bit longer. And then we were gone. It was a very fast war.
So I remember they advertised it. They had it on the news. and like they were like the war was going on, and there's like people broadcasting it. I remember that specifically. So, which was strange. They wouldn't do that now, but
No.
So you find out that you're going home, and are you going back to 29 Palms?
Yes. I went back to 29 Palms. My husband had already been there for a few months. I think he came back in April. So he was there a few months, but he'd left a month before.
Okay. So you get back, and what's the date that you get back? Do you remember the date?
I do not remember the date.
And it was, what year was it?
91.
1991? You remember, like, fall? Well, there's no seasons then.
No, not really. But I took a lot of leave. So I got to go home for quite a bit and then come back.
So you came back to Michigan?
Mm-hmm. Yes. We did both. We stopped in Missouri for a bit and then Michigan and then back to 29 Palms.
So you drove the whole way?
Yes.
Oh.
Every time.
How long was that?
I don't know. It wasn't bad. You're young and stupid and think you're invincible.
Yeah, true. Very true.
And two of us, so we could take turns driving.
Okay. Yeah, and you could stop and see what you want on the way back, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. And it was a very good experience. We were very well welcomed back to the area, and everybody was giving free stuff for veterans returning.
Oh, that's awesome.
You got free admission into all your amusement parks and all kinds of stuff like that. So got together with friends and we're just doing that every weekend.
So what way would you go? Like,
we would go up and over. So we were going like through Colorado, Kansas.
Okay. Like, is that 89? 89? Because I know, like, going through Colorado, and I've driven through Colorado, that there's some pretty steep grades, like, when you're going through
Yes. But it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
We'd gone down and, like, through Texas and then up. I preferred the Colorado route better than the down.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So was there, you come home on leave, and then you come back, to 29 Palms, and then how long are you at 29 Palms for?
Only until December, and then to Cherry Point, North Carolina.
Okay.
And my oldest was born in June of 92 at Cherry Point, North Carolina.
Okay. So tell me a little bit how do you and your husband go to Cherry Point?
Yes.
Okay. And how does when you get orders at Cherry Point, kind of, how does that work? How does that determine?
We actually asked to go East Coast. Wasn't sure what that was going to look like. He had more time left than I did, so he had asked to go to, figuring I've been here for so many years. I just came back from a deployment. More than likely, they're going to send me somewhere. If I ask to go somewhere first, maybe I'll be lucky and get. So he just asked to go East Coast, and he got Cherry Point. I was already pregnant and probably would have stayed at 29 Palms until my tour was over. I had less than a year left. And we talked to the sergeant major, and is there any way that we can change this so we're not separated, especially alone and pregnant?
Yeah. Okay.
So they did make an exception, and I went with them. Same December of 91.
So when you were still doing administrative specialist and
mail call,
things like that.
Yeah. I kind of ended up being like a catch-all in that area.
Now is Cherry Point, where exactly is that in North Carolina?
It's New Bern. It's a Marine Air Station.
And is it a pretty high tempo, like, deployment area post, or?
It's another smaller base.
Okay. Actually,
it's because it's an air wing. It's mostly because there's fewer pilots in the Marine Corps, but there are some. El Toro was another air base, but it closed.
They have enlisted pilots in the Marine Corps.
Yes. Okay. You don't have to be an officer.
Yeah, that's crazy. But it's awesome. I think it's pretty
depending on what you want to do. Yes.
Yeah, I met a Marine And he's like, yeah, as a pilot. I'm like, you were enlisted in a pilot. Anyhow, so you get to Cherry Point, and what's that? Tell me what the differences were from 29 Palms as far as, are there trees and not sand?
There's, yes, trees not too far from a lot of activities. Again, it was a smaller base, very tight knit, however, a much older base, and they had no base housing. So we lived off base. I didn't enjoy that as much, but it's...
Do you have like an apartment or?
We were in a trailer, in a very small trailer park with like a 1970s early where they have all the sliding doors kind of trailer parks. We were on a waiting list for base housing, but it didn't happen. And then I chose to end my enlistment because we thought, well, if we both have to deploy, we have children now.
And
what's going to happen if
one?
Just one?
Okay.
If we both have to deploy, what happens at this point?
And what date was your daughter born?
June 18th of 92. And so I pretty much was checking out because I was pregnant. So I wasn't, by the time my maternity leave would have taken me past. She was overdue. But I was already kind of starting the checkout process because I wouldn't have come back from maternity leave because my enlistment would have ended beforehand. I was very much still enjoying my time in the service. But we decided he had more time, and we really felt like if somebody's going to stay in, it would be him.
Yeah. So you can take care of the child.
So I could take care of the kids, and we would do that.
So you get out, and what's the date you get out?
I'm honestly not sure what it says. I want to say it says the 31st.
31st of
June, so just shy of the 4 years, because it would have been August.
So June 1992?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And
so you get. Sorry. Go ahead.
It was such a long time ago. So yes, stayed at the base because he had 2 more years. He did a 6-year enlistment and I did a 4.
So how was it being like when you got out? Like what was your feeling like when you?
It was very different to be a dependent after having been active duty. I think if you didn't know what it was like, it wouldn't be so different. But it was definite for me. I really felt like it was very different to be a dependent.
Was it a hard transition?
It was a hard transition.
What do you think was hard about it? Like
Acceptance. I'm no longer a Marine, so Marines don't respect you as much. But I was a Marine, so dependent wives don't respect you so much. So it was very difficult to find a place to fit in. And maybe respect isn't the right word. There's automatic maybe judgments or preconceived notions of what you're going to be like. And so it was just difficult to make the transition. Maybe if I'd come and nobody knew I was a Marine first, it would have been different. Could have hit it.
Yeah. So you get out and you're there, and your husband is did he deploy at all or?
Nope. He ended up getting out shortly after, early, and we came back to Michigan.
Okay, and so you come back to Michigan, and where do you guys move to?
We're living in Fowlerville, Michigan. And had 2 more kids.
Okay, so you had 2 more kids, and what were the dates did you have?
Oh, my son was born December 17th of 94, and then my youngest daughter was born February 18th of 97.
Okay, so you guys are in Fowlerville, and is your family still in Howell at that point?
My parents were still in Howell. My sister was at Central going to college. She actually graduated the day my son was born. She yelled at me for stealing her thunder. And my brother was with my parents in Howell.
Okay. So you're out, and both you and your husband are out, and what are you doing at this point? And how old are you?
So 24.
24.
Yep. I worked originally when we first got out. I worked at VG's grocery store as a front end manager.
On Grand River.
Yep.
Okay.
In Howell. Yep. And then I kind of jumped around a little bit. Tried a few different banks for different experiences. I went to First National.
So the math is coming back at this point.
Yep. First National. And I was a teller at First National. And then I went to Flagstar. And I was an operational assistant manager. And then I left there for Lake Trust Credit Union, which is where I am now. And I'm in the lending finance department.
Okay. And at what point do you join the Marine Corps League?
So I joined the Marine Corps League the first time in 2003. I think it was 2003. But I had small children, and it was just really difficult to try and make meetings and everything like that. And it kind of fell to the wayside. And then I joined again in 2015, and I have been active since.
Okay. And so what kind of things, do you do, and what kind of led you to come there? Obviously you're a Marine. So what when you went there, like, what did you feel?
I was missing the camaraderie and being around other veterans. And that was my main reason for re-enlisting or rejoining. I'm also a member of the Women Marines Association, the VFW, the American Legion. I have a special place for veterans. I feel like I had a really great experience. I have no regrets. Had I been able to, I probably would have tried to stay in longer. Just, you make the decision that you think's right at the time, and you do what you do.
Especially when you have kids.
Yes. Yes, everything. Exactly. So, but it was just, I wanted to kind of give back to the ones that maybe didn't have the best of experience, or bring back that. I feel a lot of veterans get out because they think they want to, and then miss it.
Yep. I agree with that.
And so I think with a lot of these groups, you can get back some of what you had.
Absolutely. So what kind of things do you do with the Marine Corps League?
With the Marine Corps League, I am the judge advocate, which is a little bit to do with recruiting new members, and mostly recruiting new members, and what else who we can put you in touch with that might be able to help you with something that you need help with. My Marine Corps League is very involved with color guard funerals at Great Lakes National Cemetery.
In Holly.
Yep. And we don't have a lot of issues, I guess. Most of our members are in good health and don't have any needs. Mostly, other than we're getting older, the majority of our veterans are Vietnam veterans and older. I think we have one Korean veteran. Our last World War II veteran passed away already.
Sorry to hear that.
So we do have a couple younger ones, but I don't know that they're gonna be active for much longer, because a lot of the younger ones are still pursuing college or something else. And so it's hard. And I understand that's when most
stage of life.
Right.
Yep. So it's awesome. I know that I've seen the Marine Corps League come out to quite a few color guards, and they are awesome. You guys do a great job, and it's an awesome that you're a part of it and you're giving back to the community. And is there, if there anyone was listening to this interview, what would you want them to take away from it?
So other than my children, my time in service is something that I am very proud of, and it was a wonderful experience for me, and I wouldn't change anything.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Veterans Archives, the podcast that brings you the story of the men and women who have created and lived our military history. If you or someone you know served in the military and would like to share your story with Veterans Archives, please go to www.veteransarchives.org, select the Apply Now button, and fill out our application, and someone will get right back with you. Veterans Archives is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we rely on the donations of our listeners. If you are enjoying these stories and you support our efforts, please go to www.veteransarchives.org and select the Donate button. Any donation is certainly appreciated. Look for Veterans Archives on your favorite social media. We are on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Just look for Veterans Archives. Like, follow, and share our page. We'd certainly appreciate it. If you or someone you know is a veteran and you are struggling with mental health issues, please dial 988 and select option 1 for the Veterans Crisis Hotline. Please be sure to tune in next time for the next episode of Veterans Archives.